Hey YouTube, so we are back in Great League, and this is actually a Great League team that I used earlier in the season because as you can tell, Weezing, Medi, Golisopod, three Pokemon all buffed. Sludge buffed on Weezing, Dynamic Punch buffed on Medi, and then Aqua Jet now on Golisopod. So Pokemon, all with strong moves, all with play. The team itself did not do amazing. And again, I didn't really care as early on in the season. I was just testing these Pokemon out, so I don't know if the team doesn't work. I don't know if I'd suggest using this team because there's some just like holes and stuff, like you're doubly to flying in the back, stuff like that. So I don't know if it's the best, but I do want to talk about these three Pokemon because I have thoughts on all three of these. All three of these should have play, but I would change up some stuff about them. So, in this one, again being doubly to flying in the back, you may want to save swap. I think Medi and Pod can be both safe swaps, depending on what you see on the lead. Okay, so I'm gonna play it, but mostly I'm going to be just talking about these Pokemon individually, about their strengths and weaknesses. So let's talk about Weezing first. Because Weezing got a fantastic upgrade with Sludge. So Weezing, the Shadow is ranked 20 and the non-Shadow is ranked 57. And basically what I was going to say about this is use the Shadow. And does it make that much of a difference? Yes, it does. I do not have the Shadow. The non-Shadow Sludge does 84 damage. But it's only 40 energy. So in terms of damage per energy, 40 for 84 is 2.1 damage per energy, which is way better than the 35 for 55 you're getting on Brutal Swing. So getting 2.1 damage per energy is fantastic. The problem is when that is your best move, it feels a little underwhelming, right? Because you have 55 for Brutal Swing, and 84 for Sludge on the non-Shadow. So just 84. A lot of times you're not even getting to 50% mark there. So you need 3 Sludges to take out Pokemon. And then if you add a shield, you're looking at 4 Sludges minimum. So I would say getting that Shadow bonus and getting it up to 100.8 damage is of utmost importance. So I don't know if I would actually use Weezing as a non-Shadow again in Great League. But I think the Shadow version has a ton of play. And the reason it has a ton of play is because your stat product is okay, but you have like 138 defense, which is quite high. And so if you lose 20% on defense, it's not the worst case scenario. But adding that 20% on your attack, which is already 118, so boosting that attack from 118, adding 20% on, and then having a Sludge that does 100 damage that comes at a speed of 10-8, 10-8 is at times extremely overpowering. So definitely one that you should be looking at using if you have a Sludge. Has kind of a unique play in this meta. Obviously, weak to ground is kind of an issue, but but Sludge being able just to hit a lot of stuff just neutral. All the waters you're going to see, Grass, it's super effective against those, but just generally a pretty good Pokemon. So the non-stab Brutal Swing is still good, like just spamming at 8s. It obviously is super underwhelming because it's non-stab and it's a Brutal Swing. So I would, if you can, Sludge seems like the best way to go in the majority of situations. So I would go Sludge as often as you can on Weezing. But yeah, if you have the Shadow and use it, you'll probably notice how strong it is. Medi. So I use Medi with Psychic and Dynamic Punch. So let's start with the obvious one. Dynamic Punch is a significant improvement on this Pokemon because Dynamic Punch is buffed, and you with same type attack bonus, it's 108 damage, right? So 45 energy, 108 damage for 2.4 damage per energy. So that 108 damage is fantastic. What makes that 108 damage even more fantastic is that it comes at 10, right? Dynamic Punch with its buff and the Psycho Cut fast move, straight 10s across the board to get to it. So you are spamming a 108 damage move every 10 turns worth of moves, which is fantastic given your bulk, right? One thing that made Medi so strong for so many seasons is that it's 139 defense and 141 stamina. You can just take so much damage. So absolutely fantastic, huge upgrade with Dynamic Punch. Now I ran it with Psychic. It is ranked 60 with Ice Punch. So what's the difference between Ice Punch and Psychic? So in terms of damage per energy and damage, Psychic is better. 55 for 90, 1.64 versus 40 for 60, 1.5. Psychic also has a 10% chance of lowering your opponent's defense. It really depends how you want to play this Pokemon and what coverage you want. So, Psychic is fantastic if you go against like a Zoom Roll in particular, because Dynamic Punch would be resisted and Ice Punch would be resisted, but Psychic is neutral. So being able to hit a Pokemon like that, I was going to say Clodsire, but Ice Punch is actually super effective against Clodsire too, but like Galarian Weezing where Psychic is effective and Ice Punch is neutral. So in terms of just damage is fantastic. Versus Ice Punch, it's better. The problem is you're not using Psychic for really anything else, right? Because you're using Dynamic Punch with 108 damage, 45 versus the 90 for 55. In all neutral situations where Dynamic Punch is neutral, you're using Dynamic Punch. So you rarely need Psychic except for that coverage. Whereas Ice Punch gives you not only a bait move, sort of, it gives you coverage against some of your weaknesses. So it covers your flying weakness, right? Because you're weak to flying because you're a fighter. So it gives you that flying coverage. At the same time, on the second and fourth turn here, oh, you don't see it, but the fast move count is 5-4, 5-4. So technically, on the second and fourth time around, it's only 8 turns worth of moves. So you can bait there if you need to instead of going Dynamic Punch. So between the ability to bait, the coverage on grass, the coverage on flyers, it's a pretty strong argument that you should be using Ice Punch. Again, I think you can use either or, but just know that those are the differences between the two. And then last on this list, anyway, so I think Weezing if you want to use, I think the Shadow, 100% worth using. Non-Shadow, I don't think I would use again. Medi, I think I would use it both with Ice Punch and Psychic, depending on how you want it on your team. I think Dynamic Punch is just such a huge upgrade for this Pokemon. And then last is Golisopod. And Golisopod was already like a borderline sneaky pick to use because it had Shadow Claw and then X Scissor. And X Scissor is like a good, and again, not an amazing move, but 40 for 78. Now you have a better move now, 40 for 84 in Aqua Jet. So it's just straight 5s across the board, meaning it's only 10 turns. So this thing spams pretty quick. Again, where you get some strength in other Pokemon is in like, it's usually the Shadows, but like Shadow Drapion with Crunch, and we just talked about the Shadow Weezing with Sludge. Like those do 100 damage for like those 10 turns worth of moves. So even at time, like Lapras, same thing. Sparkling R is not 10, it's 12. But it hits like 96. Yeah, 96. So again, the only problem with Golisopod is you're spamming. And it's not even a problem because Shadow Claw does add up in a lot of neutral situations. So the 84 and 78 damage may not be overpowering in itself, but when you start adding up those Shadow Claws, it really puts in work. So fantastic from that perspective. I think it also is very, very strong in your typing because you are Bug Water. So you actually resist Water, Ground, and Fighting. Steel and Ice as well, but there's not a lot of that. But Water, Ground, and Fighting as resistances are huge to be able to deal with a lot of the meta. Weak to Electric, Flying, and Rock, which there's some of, but not a ton of. So again, I don't know if I'd use this team because I didn't play well with it, but for all these Pokemon, I think all 3 of these Pokemon have play in the Great League, and that's kind of what the Great League is becoming, right? You have your main meta, and you with a bunch of like really strong buff Pokemon, and Shadow, Weezing, Medi, and Golisopod all have play in this meta. So if you want a team build better than just putting all 3 of these on a team, go for it. You can always just like go, like Golisopod has 2 options. You can just pair it with things that will beat like Flying and Electric and Rock. So like one of the recommended is like Steelix. Like Steelix will resist Flying and resist Rock. So, and as in Ground, it will resist Electric. So Steelix pairing with that would be a nice answer. So like PvPoke is pretty good just in terms of like if you want to try and find a Pokemon that not completely, but like often balances your team, that's fine. Golisopod I think can also be used as a safe swap. Where is it ranked as a safe swap? 10th. Yeah, so it's now the number 10 ranked safe swap. And if you actually take out doubles, because Primeape is 1 and 3 and Feraligatr is 2 and 4, So if you take out the doubles, any other doubles on this list? No other doubles. So take out those doubles. It's now 8th best safe swap in the Great League. So definitely a Pokemon worth using. Galarian Shadow Weezing is actually the 6th/4th if you take out the doubles as a safe swap. So again, that Shadow bonus, that Shadow really, really makes Sludge a tough answer. So not surprising that it is ranked 6th when, holy smokes, sorry, kid did something upstairs. Not surprising that it's ranked 6th as a safe swap when Drapion is ranked 8th. And if you look at the moves here, Poison Sting versus Fairy Wind, basically the same. And then at the you have Brutal Swing, which is not good, but the Shadow gets it up to 66, not amazing, but 66, and then 100 for the Sludge. Whereas Drapion has 66 for the Aqua Tail, so the same there, and 100 for the Crunch. They're basically clones, right? So you just have a Poison Sting versus Fairy Wind. The moves are basically clones minus like damage output minus different typings, and then you just got to watch out for your weaknesses, and you only have one weakness in Ground and Drapion. You have a couple here, right? Ground, Psychic, and Steel here, but you also pick up like other resistances. So yeah, very interesting Pokemon there. And then Medi seems to be ranked the lowest on both in those categories. And I can't tell whether, I think it's because of the meta, right? Because it comes back to if you watched my video the other day or my early analysis of these Pokemon, I keep talking about how Psychic sucks right now because there's so many freaking ghosts in the meta. And I think that's where it gets a downgrade, because you're weak to Fairy, Flying, and Ghost. And only resist 2 things, Rock and Fighting, which are not a ton of in the meta right now. There's a few fighters, I shouldn't say that, but with so many ghosts, not a ton of flyers right now, a couple, and then a couple of these fairies now getting buffed. Definitely your weaknesses far outweigh your resistances right now. So I think with that, and because there's a lot of darks to answer the ghosts, right? There's a lot, you have Dynamic Punch, which is fantastic for the darks, but because depending on what moveset you use, Psychic Cut will be resisted, and then Psychic would also be resisted. You can only go Dynamic Punch, or if you have the coverage for Ice Punch, you can have that too. So yeah, interesting. We'll see what the meta shapes up to be like this. Again, I've got this from earlier, and I've got at least a couple of submissions from you guys from earlier in the season, which we'll showcase those. So we won't focus too much on like team building super yet. Probably just a lot of like testing out and seeing how things do, and then we'll go from there. So not bad. I managed to talk for 12 out of the 16 minutes of battles. Perfect. So let me know, because I'm not even gonna bother highlighting the battles here. Let me know in the comments below. Now that we've basically gone through all the Pokemon, I've tested, like, these are the last 3 that I wanted to test, and I did test them last time around. I just didn't have time to shoot it. But I tested every other Pokemon. Let me know in the comments below if you've tested the different Pokemon out, which ones you find strong, which ones you find weak, which ones you think are going to be used a lot, which ones you think aren't going to be used as a lot. If you have any like secret picks that no one's using or you think is like underused, let me know in the comments. I do think, again, this is going up Wednesday morning when I haven't played yet, because I'm doing this on Monday. Trying to get a little bit ahead so I don't have to do 2 videos tomorrow night. It's actually I'm up to 3 now, to tell you the truth, because I do just as an aside, I do 2 videos a day here, and I do 1 a day for the other channel that I'm doing now. So I'm actually doing 3 videos a day, and I'm just exhausted, so exhausted that my camera just like quit on me there for 2 seconds. It's like, now you're done. Yeah, so I'm actually doing 3 videos a day. So if I can get ahead, that's why I said please send me the Great League videos you have, so if I can get ahead on like one day, I don't have to do so many at night. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of like Lapras. Like Lapras seems insane right now. Lapras is extremely strong. I wouldn't be surprised. Like the waters, Lapras, Blastoise. I expect to see a lot of those. I expect to see a lot of like Dusknoir, Dusclops combo answers to it, like Mandibuzz and stuff. Mandibuzz, Malamar, answers to those Pokemon. But yeah, and X's are here is double super effective. So if this lands, this is gonna one shot. Hey, look at that great commentary on the battles here. And with that, they top left because they know how much it hurts. I think this is the last battle anyways, which is fantastic. Psywave is super effective, which sucks. But Foul Play and Superpower are resisted, so it's kind of a weird one. Yeah, Psywave is adding up. And why am I going Brutal Swing? Maybe I think 2 Brutal Swings will take out and 1 Sludge won't here. Oh, I gotta go Sludge anyways now. Yeah, that's the problem with the non-Shadow. It just does not pack the punch it needs to. And they do shield and farm me down. Where am I gonna go? Both resist the Superpower, so that's fine. My kid is crying, but again, my wife and other kid is up there. And she said she's going to her room. It's a very emotional 6-year-old. I don't know what happened. If anyone has kids, she turned 6 and went super emotional. So that's been fun. Yeah, she turned 6 and just became super emotional. I don't know why. Get the farm down there. What do we have in the back? They got a shield, but I got moves on Golisopod. I have a move here. Clodsire. This is nice for the Psychic. They do shield 1, but I'll get off another one. I don't know if it'll do 50% just because it's 2 very defensive heavy Pokemon. Okay, it does 50%. That's all you need. Trying to snipe the rest here. Super effective. Snipe, not quite. 1 HP. They will get a move off here. You're a Medi, so you will live. And we'll have to see what's in the back here and how much is left on it. And it's a race, and you love these. I lost the race. I was about to say, you love getting to 10 there. They're also at 10, and they're going to win CMP, so that makes sense. Okay, so that is it. Like I said, we'll cover at least 1 or 2 more submitted earlier in the season, and then please submit some stuff so you can be showcased over the next 2 weeks. Because this thing is on 2 weeks in a row. What is the... I know it's open. I'm just trying to check, because I know it's open Great League this week and Ultra League and Master League. I'm just trying to think, what is the double up next week? Master Premier. Okay, so 95% of you are going to be doing Great League anyways. Maybe some of you will do Master Premier, but I've got to imagine most of you will be doing Great League. So with that, I will say thanks for watching. Yeah, like I said, drop your comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one.